Hey, what's up YouTube fam? It's Ben here. Welcome back to another flow. As always, we got new classes here every Wednesday and Sunday, so feel free to subscribe if you've been enjoying the energy around here. With that being said, today's class is going to be a fluid, stable, opening Vinyasa class. We're going to focus on creating space in the hips and hamstrings, as well as the upper body, but we'll have options. So if you don't want to get too much into the upper body, then you don't have to, but there will be options for building strength along the way. So let's go ahead and get started in an upright seated position. You can sit on your shins, you can sit cross-legged, you can sit on a block or prop, whatever works for you. And for today's class, I will recommend having 2 yoga blocks, but they're definitely not required. All you really need is yourself and a mat. So starting to settle into your practice. Taking a moment to notice not only your breath, but also your physical body and also your mental state right now. Maybe the mind feels active, there's a lot of thoughts running around, or maybe the mind feels calm and present. And if the mind feels overactive with all of those thoughts, that's okay, right? We can think of each one of those thoughts as just little ripples or waves in a vast ocean, and each time we get taken away by one of those little ripples or waves, we can always just notice, acknowledge, and then zoom back out to the big ocean, which is the present moment, the breath, and the body. So continuing to breathe a little bit deeper and deeper, filling up the space in the belly, filling up the space in the lungs and the side ribs. Feeling this energy center around the body and all that you're capable of. And lastly, if you'd like to invite in any intention for our practice today, now's a good time. And if you don't have one, then gratitude is always a good intention. Gratitude for our bodies, gratitude for movement, for breath, for a relationship, for having a roof over our head, for the beautiful sun and clouds above that roof, and for this beautiful planet. And as you're ready, we'll take 3 breaths together before we jump into some movement. So we'll go ahead and take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Start to flicker the eyes open, and we'll meet in a tabletop position. When you get to your tabletop, take a few rounds of circles with the shoulders over the wrists. So just creating some intuitive movement. These circles can be small and controlled, or they can be big and free. There's no right answer, just whatever allows you to start getting into some physical movements. Once you've found about 5 circles in one direction, go ahead and circle to the other direction. And once you feel complete on that side, we'll go ahead and flip the palms back, fingertips face the knees, thumbs face out to the side, stretching out the wrists a little bit. And we'll start to shift forward and back, having some softness in the elbows, maybe even shifting side to side a little bit. And then we'll rotate the hands so fingertips face out to the sides, thumbs face forward-ish. And again, take some rocks either left to right or some more of those explorative circles. Good. And as you're ready, fingertips face forward, thumbs toward each other in the center. And then we'll flip one hand at a time. The back of the hand or top of the palm will press down into the mat, and we can bunch up the fingertips and then release. Always important to give the wrists a little bit of love, because we will be holding some down dogs, some high planks, some shapes where we're driving through the hands. We want to make sure we're not dumping that weight into the wrists. We want to make sure the wrists are warmed up and ready to integrate into the rest of our arms and upper body. So if you're still on that first hand, go ahead and flip the opposite hand down into the mat and stretch out the wrist. And to finish out, round out your wrist movements in the next 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Come into your table, and we'll roll through some cat-cows or any other explorative movements. So for cat-cow, as we inhale, the belly drops, chest curls forward as we lift and spread through the collarbones. As we exhale, we drive through the palms, round the spine, fill the space between the shoulder blades, and tuck the chin closer to the chest. So as we inhale, belly drops, curl the chest forward. As we exhale, round and push everything away. Inhale, lift, curl forward. Exhale, round, push away. Inhale, lift, curl forward. Exhale, round, push away. Last one, inhale, round, or push and curl forward. Exhale, round the spine. Come back through a neutral tabletop, and let's find a spinal balance, reaching the left hand forward, kicking the right heel back. First couple moments are just to find balance. Then once you find that balance, integrate and strengthen. Drive further through the right heel, flex the right toes down, and reach the left hand forward. Maybe even lift the left hand up by an inch or two. Good. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Listen carefully. We're going to keep the right leg as it is, but we're going to drop the left hand down to the mat. So now just the right leg is extending out behind us, and then we're going to drop the right heel behind the left and come into a modified side plank. So the left knee is down on the mat. You can either stay here for a side plank, or for a modification, you can lift the right leg off the mat behind you, leaving it parallel with the rest of the body, or parallel to the mat below it. Opening across the chest, working into your balance. Take a deep breath in and out. Beautiful job. If your right heel is lifted, go ahead and drop it back down to the back of the mat and rise up to our gate pose as the right hand lands on the right leg and the left arm stretches up and over to the top right corner of the room. Breathe into the left side body. Create some space. Good. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Slowly start to release. Bring the left hand back down to the mat. Come back into your side plank. Stay here with the right foot grounded, or lift the right foot up. They're both good options. We'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Beautiful job. 2 and 1. Drop the right foot to the back of the mat. Lift back up for your gate pose side stretch. Lift the left hand up overhead. Breathe into that space in the left side rib cage. We'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and release. One more round. Come into your side plank, option to lift the right hand up. Good. Find your breath. And this time I'll count us down with the breath instead. So we'll take 3 big ones as you're ready. Deep inhale and exhale. Deep inhale. Exhale. Deep inhale. Exhale. Release right foot to the back of the mat. Rise up to your gate pose. When you get there, reaching the left hand up and overhead, we'll take those 3 breaths. So deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. Rotate everything back down to the mat and come through your tabletop. When you get to tabletop, you can maybe go through 1 or 2 more rounds of cat-cow at your own pace, just to level things off. And then we'll come into our spinal balance on the other side. So reaching the left foot back behind us, reaching the right arm forward. First couple moments, work into your balance. Press through the fingertips on the left side. Once you feel balanced and stable, not only find your breath, but also find the integration of the muscles. Drive the left heel as hard as you can, like you're stamping it on the wall behind you. Reach the right hand forward. Breathe. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Listen carefully. Keep the left leg extended behind you. Drop the right hand down to the mat. Kickstand the left foot behind you, behind the right foot, and come into this modified side plank with the left hand up to the sky. Again, option to stay right here. Option to lift the left leg up off the mat behind you for an additional challenge. Open up through the chest. Engage through the left heel. Breathe. As you're ready, take 1 more deep breath in and a deep breath out. Release the left heel down if it is lifted, and we'll find that gate pose. Reaching the right hand up and overhead toward the top left corner of the room. Take a few deep breaths. Feel that space opening up in the left side body. This always feels so good at the start of the practice, regardless of if you just woke up or if you've been working throughout the day. It's great to give those side bodies some love because it's all connected. The more we release from our side bodies, the more it affects our low back, our hamstrings. It's all connected. Take 1 more deep breath in. As we exhale, the right hand comes back down to the mat. Find your version of side plank. When you get there, we will hold this for 10, 9, 8, 7, beautiful stuff, y'all. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop the left heel if it's lifted. Rise up to your gate pose. Take a moment to integrate and reach maybe a millimeter further than the first round, and we'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Right hand down into our side plank. Last one, and this time we'll use our breath as our count. So we'll take those 3 deep inhales and exhales. As you're ready, take a deep breath in all the way to the top. Big exhale to release. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. Release. If the left heel is lifted, drop it back down. Find your gate pose as you reach the right hand up and over. Again, we'll find 3 deep breaths. As you're ready, smooth inhale. Steady exhale. Smooth inhale. Steady exhale. Smooth inhale. Steady exhale. Release the right hand down to the mat. Come through your side plank and then just release down to your tabletop. When you reach tabletop, tuck the toes behind you, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Use the next handful of breaths to simply settle into this shape. So we're probably feeling a good stretch in the backs of the legs right now. Probably also feeling a pretty good stretch in the shoulders and upper body as they work to lengthen, reaching the arms overhead. So find any little micro movements that you need as long as you're shifting the weight around in some capacity and not yet locking into any still shapes. You can pedal out the legs, drop the heels to the left and to the right. Find some expression. Find some curiosity around this shape. And almost every yoga class has a downward facing dog in it. It's a good home base, but that doesn't mean it's easy. In my opinion, it's Quite the challenging shape when we do it correctly. And so now starting to finally root into a still downward facing dog shape. And then we'll go ahead and walk the hands back to the feet for a forward fold. Uttanasana. Have a soft bend in the knees. Option to clasp opposite elbows for ragdoll. Simply releasing in the shoulders as we hinge at the hips. Tuck the chin down toward the chest to lengthen the neck. And then move the weight around. Start to get into the hamstrings. Shake it out. Anything that feels good for you is welcome here. If you'd like a deeper shoulder stretch, you can clasp the hands behind the low back and lift the palms overhead. There's no right answers. The goal here is just to lengthen the hamstrings. Even just in a few breaths here, we can already feel the hamstrings lengthen. We can already feel the chest fold a little bit closer to the mat. Take a couple more deep breaths here. And then for our next shape, we're going to bend the knees a lot and rise up to a chair pose. Feet are about hips width distance apart. The weight comes into the heels of the feet, so we can maybe even wiggle the toes up off the mat. We're relaxing in the shoulders, but we're also finding expansion as we reach the shoulders overhead to open the chest. This doesn't need to be the deepest chair pose. I'm not really too concerned with how low the hips are going right now. As long as the foundation is there, as long as the spine is staying long, we're just activating the legs while we keep a stable shape in our body. So take some breaths here. If you'd like to, feel free to deepen the chair pose, sinking the hips to find additional strength. We'll be here for 3, 2, 1. We're going to fold, but do so first by lowering the chest down to the belly and then straighten the legs. Beautiful. Beautiful. Good. We're going to find some interesting functional movement now. So from your forward fold, bend the knees a lot until your hips come closer to your heels, right? We're sort of in this malasana yogi squat type shape. From here, palms reach down to the mat. We're going to reach forward, lift our heels off the mat until eventually our knees hit the mat. When they do, lift up onto your feet and knees. We're in this kneeling position. Reach the arms up to the sky. When we get there, take a deep breath in, and then exhale, cactus the arms, draw the elbows closer to the hips. Use that to open your chest. Good. From here, bring the hands to the hips, to the low back. Use that to gently press the hips forward. We're thinking camel pose here, but we're not going there quite yet because we're not necessarily open for it. At least I'm not. So just using this as a camel prep. Hips press forward, and we use that to create a back bend sensation in the body. Good. Beautiful expressions. We're going to inhale and reach the hands up to the sky to release that. Then exhale, palms down to the mat. The heels are lifted, but we're going to press ourselves back so the heels meet the mat again, and we sit back into this squat. And then with our hands down, we're going to straighten the legs and lift the hips up and back for our forward fold. And that's kind of our progression that we're going through. We're opening and closing the hips. We're opening and closing the chest as well. So from your forward fold, bend your knees, bring your hands down to the mat, and keep bending the knees until the hips reach the heels. Hands out in front of you, start to lift the heels off the mat. So we're coming onto the toes. The knees will hit them out in front of us. We'll breathe in to lift the hands really high up to the sky. And then exhale to cactus the arms and elbows down. Eventually, the hands will meet the low back or come onto the upper hips. And we'll gently press the hips forward to open the chest and think about camel pose. And again, we're not doing full camel right now, but we will have opportunities for that later in the practice. Good. Reach the hands up to the sky. Inhale. Exhale, hands release to the mat in front of us. start to push the weight back. So we're lowering the heels back down to the mat, coming into this squat. And then we'll use that to drive through the feet, hips up to the sky, forward fold. Shake out the legs. And a couple more rounds of that. Start to bend the knees a lot, eventually hips lower to the heels. Look out in front of you, the knees will come all the way down to the mat. We'll inhale, take a breath in to reach the hands up to the sky. Exhale, cactus the arms, draw the elbows closer to the hips. Eventually the hands will land on the low back. Drive the hips forward to open the chest, think camel pose. Beautiful. Release the hands, and as you inhale, reach the hands up to the sky. And then exhale, hands back down to the mat in front of you. Push through the hands, start to shift the weight back until the heels ground back down again into your squat. And then drive through the feet, lift the hips up to the sky, forward, fold. Shake it out. Good, another round. Bend through the knees a lot until the hips come closer to the heels. Hands out in front of you. Heels lift off the mat, knees ground down. As we inhale, palms reach up to the sky. As we exhale, cactus the arms, draw the hands to the hips, to the low back. Press the hips forward, open the chest. Good. Release the hands, take a deep breath in to reach them up to the sky. Exhale, palms down to the mat in front of you. Press through the palms to gently press back into that low squat, bringing the hips to the heels, and then driving through the feet, hips to the sky, forward fold. We'll have one more round of that. So with your hands down on the mat, bend your knees a lot until the hips come to the heels. Start to rise onto your toes until the knees meet the mat in front of you. As you inhale, hands up to the sky. Exhale, cactus the arms, elbows draw to hips, and then the hands will come to the low back. Drive the hips forward, open the chest. Work into those sensations. I know even for me, if you look up onto the screen, I'm not in any sort of intense shape. Just by this motion of pressing the hips forward to open the chest, it definitely feels pretty intense for me. And it shows that sometimes it's all about the subtleties. It doesn't need to look like a super impressive or opening or deep shape in order to bring out those sensations and to really provide some new benefits. So release the hands. Take a breath in as we reach the hands up to the sky. As we exhale, release the hands down to the mat. Stay here in your tabletop-like shape. Go through maybe one round of cat-cow. And then find downward facing dog. Toes tuck, hips lift up and back. Feel all that new space in your down dog. Beautiful. We'll go through some traditional full sun A's now. Modify as you need. We'll inhale, rise up onto the toes, look between the hands, bend the knees. As we exhale, step, hop, float, feet up to hands. Inhale, halfway lift, extend the spine, palms draw to legs. Exhale, fold. Inhale, drive through the feet, lift the hands up to the sky. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold forward, release that. Inhale, halfway lift, spine extends. Exhale, palm the mat, step both feet back into your high plank. Inhale into your high plank, drive the ground away. Exhale, come through your chaturanga, low plank. Inhale, find your upward facing dog, tops of the feet press down into the mat. As we pull the hips through and lift the chest, that camel pose definitely opened us up for this. And then exhale to your downward facing dog. When you land there, take one breath in and one breath out. Inhale, rise high, bend knees, look long. Exhale, step, hop, float, feet up to hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, drive through the feet, rise to stand, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, go through your vinyasa, high plank to low plank. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Prioritizing your own pace. My cues are just a guideline. Inhale, rise high, bend knees, look long. Exhale, step, hop, float, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, drive through the feet and rise to stand. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift, extend the spine. Exhale, palm the mat, high plank to low plank. Step, hop, float, whatever works for you. Find your upward facing dog. And then your downward facing dog. Deep breath in and out. Inhale, rise high, bend knees, look long. Exhale, step, hop, float, feet to hands, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press through the feet, Urdhva Hastasana, arms overhead. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, high plank to low plank. Step, hop, float the feet to the back of the mat. Inhale to your upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take one breath in and one breath out. Inhale, rise high, bend knees, look long. Exhale, step, hop, float, feet to hands, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, drive the feet, lift the arms overhead. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift, extend the spine. Exhale, palm the mat, step up, float, feet to back of the mat, high to low plank. Once you land in chaturanga, tops of the feet press down, make your way into upward facing dog as you lift the chest, and then exhale to downward facing dog. Pause. Pedal out the feet or find stillness. Just land here, feel all that new energy after those movements with a little bit more pace. Beautiful. We'll lift the right leg up to the sky, three-legged dog, and then we'll bend the right knee, stack the right hip on top of the left to open up those hips. Find some movement in the right hip, or find your flip dog by eventually stepping your right foot behind you outside the left and opening through the chest. 3 points, a great place to be right now. Definitely a challenge, keeping integrity in the upper body. If you're in flip dog, focus on the opening in the chest and the back body. Good. Either way, we'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Come through 3-point, and then bring your knee toward your nose for this mountain climber-like position. Hug everything in. Hug the right knee up toward the chest as much as you can. Good. Three-legged dog. Reach the right foot up to the sky. Downward facing dog. Lower the right foot next to the left. Inhale, left leg up to the sky. Exhale, bend the left knee. Stack the left hip on top of the right. Stay here and find some movement, or flip your dog. Another option, if you're still in three-legged dog, is to lower your right forearm down to the mat and shift with simply shifting the weight forward and back. It can be a nice challenge sometimes. Wherever you're at, we'll be here for 3, 2, 1. We'll meet in three-legged dog, and then bring the left knee in toward the nose. Shift the weight forward. Hug the left knee up into the chest. Build the compression. Three-legged dog. Shift the left leg up behind us, and then come back through downward facing dog. When you get there, rise high onto the toes. Bend the knees. Look between the hands. Rise, float, step, jump, feet to hands, top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to stand, palms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, sink down into your chair pose. Making sure to not be on autopilot here. Again, that first chair pose was setting the foundation, so maybe this chair pose, we sink into that challenging, uncomfortable shape. Embracing the discomfort, taking a breath in. Exhale, fold, and release that out. Inhale, halfway lift. Take this time to grab your blocks and set them outside your mat if you have them. Again, it's okay if you don't, but if you do, we will start using them. So from here, take a halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And then we'll keep the right foot at the top of the mat and step the left foot all the way back behind us for a low lunge. When we meet in low lunge, again, you can grab your blocks to rest your hands on, but your hands can also rest down on the mat, or they can rest on your right knee or on your hips. So there's lots of options. And we're just going to take some micro movements in this low lunge, pulsing back and forth, shifting the weight around a little bit, feeling the opening starting to occur, especially in the front of the left hip flexor here. Top of the left foot is pressing down behind us as we press the hips forward to lift the chest high. Good, we'll just be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Find your half splits. So the right leg will straighten in some capacity, as we shift the hips back and find a gentle fold over our right shin. If you have blocks, adjust them as needed. If you don't have blocks, no worries. If you want to find some movement or rolling around in the right ankle, that's an option. But try to hinge at the hips and find that fold without compromising in the spine, without dumping too much into the wrists. And sometimes I notice I'm dumping too much into the arms in this shape, and then I just bring a soft bend into my elbows because my arms are locked out. It usually means I'm holding a little bit of tension, right? My shoulders are up toward my ears. I'm really holding everything tight, but when I relax and bend my elbows, it sends a signal to my body that I'm calm and I can let these muscles kind of relax and find some ease in the stretch. But I digress. We'll just be here another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Shift it forward into your low lunge again. You can have the blocks outside the right foot or not. From here, we're going to tuck the left toes, lift the left knee off the mat, and then shift the weight back as we straighten in some capacity through the right leg for modified pyramid pose. The hands are down on the mat or blocks. We're, again, similar to half splits, we're pulling the hips back as we reach the chest forward. Not as much of a fold. We're keeping a little more length on the spine here. And then notice what you're doing with your right foot. Maybe the right toes are grounded down, or maybe you're flexing the right toes back to the shin. There's no right answer. It's just good to kind of notice what the body's autopilot decision making is. Good. And from here, shift the weight forward into the right foot, into this runner's lunge. Take some bounces. Shift the weight forward and back, side to side. Good. And then from here, grip the mat with your feet, become lighter in the hands, and then rise up to a high crescent lunge. From here, we're going to take 3 knee taps with the left knee to bring more activation into the legs. So inhale, stay here. Exhale, drop the left knee down to the mat, bring a nice bend. Inhale, rise back up, drive. Exhale, left knee hits the mat. Inhale, drive back up. Exhale, left knee hits the mat. Inhale, drive back up. Pause here for 3, 2, 1. Release the hands down to your mat and go through your vinyasa. So we'll do that by palms coming down to the mat outside the right foot, runner's lunge. We're going to shift the right leg behind us for high plank. If you can, try to keep the right foot lifted and right toes pointing. From here, we'll lower down to chaturanga, bending the elbows tucked into side ribs, and then we'll flip both feet, tops of those feet pressed down, pull the hips forward, upward facing dog, and exhale to downward facing dog. Pedal the feet out, take a moment here. Beautiful work, beautiful expansion so far, yogis. As you inhale, rise high, bend knees, look long. Exhale, step, hop, float, feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, land your hands down on the mat or blocks, and we'll step the right foot back this time for our low lunge on the left. And find a version of this shape that feels nice for you. The top of the right foot presses down behind us. And find some micro movements. Settle into this lunge. We'll have a little bit of time here. Again, focusing on the front of the right hip continuing to grow and expand. Having this sense of curiosity within the body. And if you're someone who spends a lot of days sitting down at a desk or anything like that, our hip flexors, by definition of being in a seated posture, tighten up throughout the whole day. So when we're in a shape like this, it's sort of an opposite sensation for our hips. It really provides that lengthening. Good. We'll just be here for 3, 2, 1. Find your half splits. Straighten out the left leg in some capacity. Adjust as needed, and we'll find a gentle fold over the left shin. Again, just try not to round too much. You can always round a little bit into the spine because that can be very natural, but try not to dump down. Try not to exaggerate that round. Any movement in the left ankle might feel good. We'll just hold this for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, beautiful. Start to release this, bend back into the left knee. We'll come through our low lunge, but then we'll tuck our right toes behind us, lift the right knee off the mat, send the hips up and back, straighten the left leg in some capacity for modified pyramid pose, keeping the hips on railroad tracks as they square forward. Again, noticing what the default is on the left foot, if the left toes want to flex back toward you, or if you want to ground the left toes down. Beautiful. Take a deep breath in. As we exhale, begin to bend back into the left knee. Come through runner's lunge. Grip the mat with your feet. Become lighter in the hands. And then as you're ready, go ahead and lift all the way up for high crescent lunge. We'll take 3 taps with the right knee. So inhale, stay here. Exhale, drop right knee to the mat. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, drop right knee down. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, drop right knee down. Inhale, rise up. Stay here. 1 more breath. As you exhale, palms come down to the mat outside of the left foot. And from here, we're going through a vinyasa. So we're going to step the left foot back behind us into high plank. Keep the left leg lifted if you can. Lower the chest down to the mat by bending the elbows, coming through chaturanga low plank. Then we'll flip both feet, tops of those feet press down as we pull the hips forward and lift the chest to upward. Facing dog. Meeting in downward. Facing dog. Whew. Good work, y'all. We'll keep building on that. Inhale, rise onto the toes, bend knees, look long. Exhale, step, hop, float, feet to hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up to stand, palms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, palm the mat. We'll step the left foot behind us. We'll find a low lunge, reaching the hands up to the sky this time to find a little more space. Good. This time inviting in an additional shape, and that's going to be a twisted lizard lunge. So bring the left hand down to the mat toward the left side. We'll lift the right hand up to the sky and then come onto the outer blade of the right foot. Feel some expansion by gently pressing your right knee out toward the right side. You can stay here. You can find a deeper stretch by bending the left knee, kicking the left heel back toward the left glute, and then hooking the outside of your left foot with your right hand and using that to create a quad stretch in the body. And this is one of my favorite yoga poses because there are so many things going on. We're twisting, we're opening the heart, we're opening the right hip as we shift it out to the side and come onto the blade of the right foot. We're obviously stretching into the hip, into the quad of the left leg. And we're strengthening the left arm too as we drive through the mat. So it's really a whole body thing here. Either way, if you're binding, we'll go ahead and release and we'll come out of that twisted lizard lunge and find our half splits. So send the weight back, straighten the right leg in some capacity, and fold over your right shin. Blocks can be nice here for me, as you'll see on the screen. Right now I'm onto my fingertips directly onto the mat. And the reason I do that is because when I put my whole palms down on the mat, sometimes I can have the tendency to dump down and to bring a little bit too much emphasis into the arms. But when I'm on my fingertips, there's only too much weight I can drive down into the mat. So it keeps the emphasis more so on my legs. Good. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, we'll start to shift the weight forward. And when we do this, we're going to find a really long lunge. So grab your blocks if you want. They're optional. But we're going to crawl the right foot all the way up to the top edge of the mat if we can. The left leg is as far back behind us as we can get. And we'll tuck the left toes and lift the left knee off the mat. Again, we're in the longest lunge ever. Maybe you can cover the whole distance of the mat. I'm a pretty short person, so I can't quite get there. But as you'll see, this is quite the long lunge. My right foot is in front of my right knee by at least a few inches. So the longer the lunge, the more expansion and length we're creating, especially in the left hip, in the front of the left hip here. which is really key for our next pose that we're going to be doing. So focus on the length. I know this is such a challenge on the legs to hold this long lunge. We'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Slowly release, drop the left knee down to the mat, let that go. And then we'll find a version of full splits. Hanumanasana. So your full splits may not look too different than your half splits, right? So the main difference is that for half splits, our left knee is sort of just under the left hip, and that gives more space to fold forward directly over the right shin. For full splits, the focus, instead of folding forward directly over the right shin, is more so to lift the chest high, to be in this upright position as the right leg stretches in front of us and the left leg stretches back. So you can still do half splits with more of a closed off shape. Just sit up a little bit more. You can always even have a bend in the right knee. And maybe your full splits doesn't look that different from your half splits. That's okay too. We're all just a work in progress. And we'll have multiple opportunities with this today to keep growing and to find some progress. Wherever you're at, we'll be here for 5, 4, take a deep breath, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. The way we'll release this is by bringing a bend into your right knee until your right foot lands on the mat. So our legs are sort of in these right ankles with the left knee down and right foot down. From here, our options are either standing splits, handstand hops, or any other balancing pose that might feel good to you. So the way we'll get into half splits or into handstand hops are exactly the same. For standing splits rather, we're gonna lean forward, hands are gonna reach out in front of us toward the top of the mat. With that length, we're gonna start to lift up and curl the spine. Left foot reaches up to the sky. We're firm in the right leg as we drive through the hands, protract the shoulder blades, and feel the weight pulling up to lift the left heel. Same thing, if we're going to handstand hops, our hands are gonna reach out in front of us toward the top of the mat. We're gonna curl forward, driving through the palms a little bit more for this one, keeping low to the mat, lifting the left foot up to the sky, and eventually rolling ourselves into a steady handstand hop. So we'll have plenty of time here. Find something that feels good and a little bit challenging for you. And we'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly release and eventually walk up to the top of your mat. We'll meet in a forward fold. When we get there, we'll take a brief gorilla pose, sliding the palms underneath the feet for a wrist stretch. You can ground the toes down into those muscles in the wrist to create some space. Good. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. One more deep breath in, deep breath out. Go ahead and release the hands. Inhale to halfway lift, extend the spine a lot. Exhale, fold. Inhale, drive through the feet, Urdhva Hastasana, arms overhead. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. This time, the right leg steps back behind us, and we'll find a low lunge. As you're ready, palms sweep up to the sky. Open the chest. Take a deep breath in. As we exhale, we'll release the right hand down to the mat and find our twisted lizard lunge. So as we lift the left hand up to the sky, we'll kind of come a little bit more into the outer blade of the left foot as we press the left knee out to the side, and then option to bend the right knee, kicking the right foot back to the glute, and then maybe reaching the left arm back to catch the outer edge of the right foot and play with the quad stretch. And of course, I'll also mention that you don't necessarily have to hook this bind in order to feel the quad stretch. Often you could just feel the quad stretch just by bending the right knee and flexing the right toes back toward the glute. Either way, we'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the right foot back behind us. Square the left foot and then send the hips back for half splits. And maybe use the blocks, maybe hands are down on the mat, maybe fingertips are down on the mat. As usual, no correct answer. It's just whatever feels good, whatever feels curious. Find the release. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to find our really, really long lunge now. So crawl the left toes forward as much as you can. Crawl the right toes back as much as you can. And then drive through the right toes to lift the right knee. And in some capacity, rise up to your long lunge. Again, left foot is a few inches in front of the left knee. That's how deep we are into this. And y'all know that after this, the next shape is full splits, Hanumanasana. So we do this really long lunge to prepare because, again, it creates so much length in the front of the right hip, and that's one of the main facets to full splits, is that openness in the back hip. We'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Whew, that is a challenge. As the right knee drops down to the mat, we'll make our way into full splits. Left foot forward, right foot back, top of the right foot presses down. Again, if you have blocks, this is why I recommended them at the beginning of class, because for someone like me, full splits is accessible, but I'm not able to fully lower my hips down to the mat. My hips, I'm not quite flexible enough, so my hips are probably 10 inches or a foot off of the mat, and so I make up for that gap by using blocks to bring the ground up to me so that I can lift my chest. And so blocks aren't necessary because you can always reach your hands down to the mat, but as you'll see, without the blocks, I still have to find some sort of hinging sensation or folding in order to make that happen. But again, the goal here is to lift the chest, to find some sort of upright position, as long as it feels good to you. But we'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful expressions no matter what yours looked like. So from here, bend the left knee a lot until your left foot reaches the mat. Again, we're in these right angle positions with your right knee down and left foot down. And so we're doing our transition here into standing splits or into handstand hops. Again, for standing splits, reach the hands out in front of you, curl the spine, drive through the hands, lift the right leg up to the sky behind you. Very similar for handstand hops. Shift the weight back and then spring forward, hands land out in front of you, curl the chest up, find some springiness in the left leg, eventually use that to lightly kick up. And if you're playing with handstand hops, it's okay to take 5 hops, 10 hops. It's not like you have to land a handstand on your first try. As long as you're giving an effort, that's all that really counts. But regardless, we'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Everyone making their way to a standing position at the top of the mat. When you get there, fold forward. Option for either another gorilla pose, sliding the palms underneath the feet for a brief wrist stretch, or if you'd like to emphasize the shoulders, you can clasp the hands behind your low back and lift the palms overhead. In your bind of choice, we'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Find a halfway lift. Extend the spine as you inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, power through the feet. Rise up to stand, palms overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Listen carefully. Inhale, rise up to stand again. This time with the palms up, find stork pose, lifting your left knee in toward your chest. Good. From here, we're going to come through warrior 3. So I'm going to bring my hands to heart center. You can keep them overhead if you want, as we shift the left leg to reach out behind us. I have a soft bend in my right knee because that helps me work into stability. From this warrior 3, we're going to gently step the left foot all the way back to the back of the mat. When you get there, hands land down, Left knee drops. We're in low lunge with the right foot in front. Lift the palms up to the sky. Take a breath in. As you exhale, left hand comes down, right hand twists up to the sky. Option to stay here in the twist or hook the bind, right hand to the outer edge of the left foot for the quad stretch. Find a space that feels comfortable and opening for you. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the bind. Find half splits. Send the weight back. Gently fold over the right shin. Feel all this space that's available compared to the last round. Good. Take a deep breath in and out. Shift the weight forward. Find your really long lunge. Right foot all the way to the top of the mat. Left foot all the way to the back of the mat to the best of your efforts. Work into your long lunge and then rise up. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the lunge, hands down to the mat or blocks, and then we'll find full splits. Right foot forward, left foot back. Adjust as you need. Maybe you can get a millimeter deeper into it this time. Find some lift in the chest. Maybe your full splits looks almost identical to your half splits, but your left knee is just 1 or 2 inches further behind in space. And just by scooting the left knee back, it creates more length and space in the left hip. So every little movement, regardless of how big it is, has an impact. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start to release out of this full splits. Find that right angle shape. Right foot lands on the mat as the left knee comes down to the mat. Shift the weight forward. Reach the hands out in front of you. Either rise up to your standing splits or come through standing splits eventually into your handstand hop. Either way, we'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Making your way to the top of the mat into a forward fold. Find your variation of a forward fold and sway back and forth for a little bit. Find the softening in the upper body. Good. Release any binds you're holding. Inhale, take a halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up to stand. Keep the hands lifted up into the sky, and this time we'll reach the right knee in toward the chest for stork pose. From here, we're shifting back to warrior 3, so hands can stay up overhead, or they can come to heart center as we reach the right leg out behind us. Maybe you want to keep a little bend in the left knee. Maybe you want to straighten it and drive through. Either way, slowly starting to reach the right foot to the back of the mat, and when it does land, drop the right knee down as well. And lift the hands overhead. For your low lunge, take a deep breath in. As you exhale, left hand down to the mat, right hand down to the mat, left hand up. Start to open up more through your left hip for your twisted lizard, and then option for your quad stretch, bending the right knee, reaching the left hand back for that right knee. Take a few breaths into whatever stretch, whatever variation you landed yourself into. Beautiful. We'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Half splits. Release the arms down. Straighten the left leg in some capacity. Gently fold over the left shin. Take a couple breaths. Then bend into the left knee, shift it forward, find your super long lunge, left foot to the top of the mat, right foot crawls out behind you. When you get there, rise up, lift the right knee off the mat into your super long lunge. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right knee drops all the way down to the mat. Grab any props you need. Work your way into your version of full splits. Right leg behind you, left foot in front. Maybe it feels like the hips are getting closer to the mat each time. Maybe it still feels like your hips are sitting on top of a mountain. Either way, it's all good. Just work into the process. We'll be here for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Start to bend your left knee to release out of this shape. Left foot lands on the mat, as does the right knee. From here, we're going to reach our hands out in front of us and play with either standing splits or handstand hops. Either way, hands come out in front of us, curl the spine forward to pull the weight through. Then maybe play with a handstand hop by finding some springiness in the left knee and kicking yourself up. Wherever you are, we'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Find your forward fold. Step to the top of the mat and then find a version of this forward fold that you can hold for the next 3 breaths. If you're holding any binds in your fold, go ahead and release. And we'll find that camel sequence from the very beginning of class. So from your forward fold, hands reach down toward the mat. Bend your knees a lot until your hips meet your heels. Look out in front of you, palms land. Reach the knees forward until the knees land on the mat. As they do, reach the hands up to the sky. Exhale, cactus the arms, elbows draw to the hips. Hands come to the low back. Press the hips forward to open. Notice how much more space is here than at the beginning of class. Good. As you inhale, reach the hands up to the sky. Exhale, hands back down to the mat. Shift the weight back. Start to ground down through your heels again, knees up, and then we'll fold forward by sending the hips back up to the sky. Good. Couple more rounds, and from here on out, we'll have the option to play with full camel pose. So hands down to the mat. Start to bend your knees, lowering your hips down to your heels. Shift the weight forward. Bring your knees down to the mat. As you inhale, in your kneeling position, hands up to the sky. Exhale, cactus the arms. Draw your hands to your low back. Press the hips forward. Option to stay here. Option to reach one or both hands down toward your heels for camel pose. Feel the opening. I'm going to stop talking so that I can take a few breaths and really enjoy this. Beautiful. Starting to release out of camel pose using the strength in your back. Take a breath in, reach the hands overhead. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Shift the weight back. Lower your heels back down to the mat into your low squat, and then straighten the legs, hips go up and back for your forward fold. Sway side to side. And then bend into your legs until the hips meet the heels. Reach out in front of you until the knees drop. Lift the hands overhead. Inhale. Exhale, draw the elbows down, cactus the arms, bring the hands to the low back. Either stay here or find your camel pose, hands reaching back toward the heels. Open through the chest. My gosh, that feels lovely and also pretty intense for me. Take a few breaths. Start to release out of your camel pose. Use the back strength as you inhale, arms up to the sky. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Shift the weight back until your heels ground down to the mat to your low squat, and then straighten the legs, hips up and back. Forward, fold. Let all of that movement release. Make your way into a downward facing dog. So you probably have to just crawl your hands forward and or crawl your feet back. Down dog. When you get there, we'll take a few rolling vinyasas to kind of reset. So as we inhale, rise up high onto the toes, look forward. Exhale, bend your knees a lot, belly comes closer to the thighs. Inhale, spring forward, come through a high plank. And then exhale, drop your knees to hover and press yourself back through downward facing dog. That's our flow. You can always look up if that doesn't seem to make sense. So inhale, rise up high onto your toes. Exhale, bend your knees a lot, belly to thighs. Inhale, roll the body forward into high plank. Exhale, drop the knees to hover, and then scoop yourself back to downward facing dog. Inhale, rise high onto the toes. Exhale, bend the knees a lot. Inhale, ripple the body forward into high plank. Exhale, knees drop to hover. Scoop the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift heels high off the mat. Exhale, bend your knees a lot. Inhale, ripple yourself forward to high plank. Exhale, knees drop to hover. Scoop the hips up and back. Last one, inhale, rise high onto the toes. Exhale, bend your knees a lot. Inhale, ripple the body forward through high plank. Exhale, bend the knees a lot. And then scoop the hips up and back, downward facing dog. From here, rotate through high plank. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful work. Drop the chest all the way down to the mat. If you have blocks, we can place them aside. We won't really need them anymore. Awesome work to get to this point. We'll find locust pose, reaching the arms back behind us, lifting the chest, and then lifting the legs off the mat. Feeling the shoulder blades plug onto the back body. Good. Stay here, or bend the knees, reach the arms back, maybe hooking onto the inner edges of the feet for bow pose. If you find the connection, work into it. All those camels really directly prepared us for a shape such as bow pose. Drive through the feet, lift the knees a little bit higher. Breathe. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release that out. Use the back of the palms as a nice little pillow to rest one ear down on. Wiggle the hips side to side. Option to come through another bow pose. Coming through locust first, reaching the palms back, feeling the shoulder blades plug onto the back body, bending the knees, reaching the hands back to the inside edges of the feet, and then reaching up and expanding. And if this doesn't feel accessible for you, if you'd rather just hold locust, by all means, please do so. Locust is a great back strengthener. Either way, we'll be here for 7, 6, breathe, 5, 4, 3, expand even more, 2, and 1, release. Whew. Let all that go. Rest your opposite ear down on your hand pillows. Shift the hips side to side. Good. Bring your hands down to the mat, outside of your chest. Tuck the toes behind you. First step, flex the legs to lift the knees off the mat. Get the strength. Feel your shoulder heads pointing down, elbows pointing directly back. And then drive up to a strong high plank pose. This is our last challenge of the day, is simply holding high plank. If you'd like to drop your knees, if that provides you more stability, by all means, feel free. Wrap the triceps back, so biceps forward, triceps back. Fill the space between the shoulder blades. Feel yourself pushing through the floor underneath you, and we'll hold this for 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. You are beautiful. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop the knees. Child's pose. Send the hips back toward the heels. Feel everything grounding and rooting down. Take about 5 deep breaths at your own pace. Beautiful. Start to lift up out of this child's pose. come through tabletop, and then we'll step into a half pigeon on the right side. So reaching the right foot out in front of you, lowering the right outer shin down to the mat. As always, you can find a healthy bend in the left leg behind you if that helps create more space. Often it does. But for a regular half pigeon, extending the left leg out behind us and then gently folding forward. Try to release any tension or holding on in the shoulders and in the upper body. Instead, choosing to emphasize the softness. Again, whenever the mind wanders to any of those little ripples or waves in the ocean, just notice, acknowledge, hold space for it, and then come back to the breath and body, come back to the vastness of the overall ocean, of the overall present life experience. We'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start to lift up. Eventually come through a tabletop and into half pigeon on the left side. So reaching the left foot out in front of you, grounding the left hip down. Again, more than welcome to bring a healthy bend into the right leg behind you, or go ahead and extend the right leg. Either way, take your time, settle into this stretch. Notice how this side is different than the right. Best effort to soften, best effort to release. Breathe. Find your space, find your softness. We'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start to gently, softly lift up out of your half pigeon. As you do so, swing the right leg out in front of you for a wide-legged seated forward fold. Create some space between the legs. Shift the weight around. And then together, we'll fold over the left leg. You can have a little bend in your left knee if you'd like, creating some softness, lowering your belly closer to your right thigh. Relaxing in the shoulders. We'll take 2 breaths. So deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Start to release, and then we'll fold over the right leg. Find some softness and settle down. We'll take a deep breath in and out. A deep breath in and out. Come through center, fold between the legs. We'll take 3 deep breaths this time. So as you're ready, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Sit yourself up to a comfortable seat And then cross the legs out in front of you for Sukhasana, easy seat position. Place your hands down on your knees and gently press your knees down closer to the mat to externally rotate, to feel a subtle hip opener, and also just to sit up nice and tall. Feel your steadiness. Maybe you close your eyes and find yourself in a meditative state. Sitting up tall, relaxing the shoulders gently, tucking the chin a little bit closer to the chest to lengthen the neck muscles. Breathing, finding peace. Yogis, this is where I'm going to leave you today. I hope you enjoyed today's practice. It's always a blessing and an honor to share this space with each one of you. You're welcome to linger in this Sukhasana, this meditative seat, for as long as you'd like to. Maybe even recline down onto your back and enjoy a Shavasana. Either way, wherever your day goes, I'm wishing you nothing but the best. I hope that we meet again soon. Until then, peace and love.